Something like this. Hey, everybody, this is Glenn Curry at H2O Studios, and we are, for the first time, the first episode of Regina Says with Regina Velez Carter.
Yes.
Regina, first of all, let me just put you on camera here because this is your show. Regina Says, for the first time, after a couple of months of trying to do this, and we don't want to get into how, but I just want to let everyone know I'm Glenn Curry. We're here at H2O Studios, high above Public Square, and that's what Public Square in Watertown looks like today. It's absolutely gorgeous. And Regina, of course, you've been living here. How many years have you been living in the North Country?
25.
25 years. You came from Puerto Rico. You're a native Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. And it was a long, again, whenever we hear this from our grandparents, it was a long journey from Hungary, from Ireland, from Italy. And it was. But it was a long journey for you from Puerto Rico. Just give us a little background and what got you here to begin with, Regina.
So
Step up to the microphone, just a little closer.
Okay.
You're good. You're good.
So I got here 25 years ago. I was pregnant, 5 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. And I basically wanted to get away from my husband at the time, the father of my children. And my sister was living here already for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. And the opportunity came. She said, come. I will share what I have. I don't have much, but I will share what I have with you. And I said, okay, let's do this. So I got here with a 2.5-year-old boy and pregnant.
And you're pregnant?
Yeah. 5 months pregnant and 2 suitcases, mine and his.
So, okay, without getting into, bad relationship, Regina, just something you wanted to walk away from. I'm sure there were other things, but
Yep.
you did it.
Yep.
So, okay, we're talking mid-90s here?
Yep, 1995.
All right, so did you come through New York first, or did you come directly here?
Yes, we didn't have the route to get here very clear. So I landed in JFK, stayed with my auntie for a night, and then got shipped here in a bus from Central Square. Yeah.
Wow. And okay, so you've been here ever since you had the child.
Yes.
And then from there, you
twins.
Yeah, twins. Sorry.
Twins.
Wow, that makes sense. You had children. By the way, did you know you were pregnant with twins?
I knew I was pregnant. I didn't know it was twins until I got here.
Until you got here. Until they did
an ultrasound. Ultrasound.
Yeah. What do I know?
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. That's just part of the journey.
Pretty awesome.
But Regina, you're a young person. And again, and I know, it's funny how, let me just say the litmus test to being young. If, say, for instance, I'm 58 years old. If I died today, what would they say? They said he died too young.
Yes.
And yet people my age, and younger for that matter, even people in their 40s say they're old. And yet the moment you die way too young if you die before. In my opinion, if you die before your 80th birthday, because there's so many things that keep us alive these days. That's not always the case, don't get me wrong. All right, so the journey through New York City, you come up here, you realize you have twins. And I'm just not looking to skip to the chase, of course, but you've done so much because you have the restaurant, you've had it for a while. We'll get into that, but you had the church as well. Are you an ordained minister? What?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So what made you get that, and how did you? I'm assuming your Christian faith started when you were in Puerto Rico.
Nope.
It did not. Okay, there you go.
No.
There you go.
I came here, going through things in life, and after I had my twins, I discovered the club life. In those days, our Ford Drum had three
clubs right on base.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess I took advantage of that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I had my, we call it in my Christian faith, a worldly life.
Yeah.
I was enjoying it. I was doing pretty good. Nothing, I wasn't sad or nothing. I was having a good time. And then I started going to church, Hispanic church here at the time, because when I got here, I didn't know my brother-in-law was here too. It's fascinating. Like my sister was here, and then one day they found each other. In those days, it was called Sonny, where Hannaford is now.
Right.
Sonny, I think it was.
Sun Foods.
Sun Foods.
Yeah. Sure. No, I understand.
They met at Sun Foods, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're here! Oh my gosh, yes, you're here!" And then I came here without knowing that he was here.
Wow.
And then
in northern New York. Think about it. That's like a needle in a haystack right there.
Yes. Families encounter here is crazy. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I began visiting church for like 2.5 years, and then the Lord spoke to me, as we call it, and I had an encounter, and since then I just served Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay, so and it's unfortunately I'm Catholic born, went to Christ the King High
Yeah.
School from Queens, and when I say unfortunately, I'm gonna just be very transparent here. When I say Jesus Christ, it's usually because I lost something.
Yeah, I know.
But I do believe in Jesus,
Amen.
and again, with the stuff that's going on these days, there's a lot of people that just want to just eradicate religion altogether. But we're not here for that. But let me ask you, the experience when you were when you saw God. Explain what happened there. You mentioned that.
It was a gradual journey. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, I'm a hallelujah. We call it a hallelujah in Spanish. I started my life just changed. My heart was filled with something I didn't know I needed. And then step by step, the Lord kept calling me. The primary thing that I can describe is that I realized how much I didn't love people. And then I realized how much now I love people, especially men. I was not fond of men because I had many bad experiences. So
And not to mention your husband.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And other things in life. So yeah, that's how I'm like, ooh, I love people.
And that's something.
A lot.
So did you realize? I mean, obviously, when I first met you, Regina, and by the way, before I met you, I remember hearing your radio commercials.
Yes.
And I'm very genuine because I'm a radio guy myself. I do a lot of ads. I'll read the copy, and sometimes it might be genuine, it might be disingenuous.
Yeah.
But you're very genuine when you talked about your restaurant. It seemed like it was just coming right off the top of your head. Not many people can do that. So you started the restaurant. Again, we're going to get into a lot of things because Regina says a lot of things because you learn through experience about life, like we all do. But some of us can live to 110 and still not learn enough.
Yes.
But it seems like you obviously did. So the restaurant came later, and exactly how did that come about? Because that's not easy starting a business, particularly someone who never did that before.
Yeah, well, we have many stages. Before the restaurant, there was the church. That's been my life for the past 20-some years. The restaurant, we had some people from my church, Pastor Carlos and Pastor Norma. They had a restaurant down in Coffin Street for a little bit. So what I started, my main thing was to do a bakery. You see, in Puerto Rico, bakeries are like the spot.
Right.
You smell the bread in the morning and you buy, we call it 2 pounds, but it's 2 loaves of bread. You eat one on the way home and then the other one is for the kids and all that.
Really?
You drink your coffee and you get your sandwiches and all that. So I decided to find authentic Puerto Rican bread.
Yeah.
So I went to Connecticut, spoke with some people over there that fell through. Then I went to Rochester and I found authentic Puerto Rican bread in Rochester. So
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to bring that to the North Country because that's the experience I wanted people to have. I wanted to be as authentic as possible
Right.
in what we offer and with what we had here. When I got here, one of my cultural shocks, it was the fish. We eat fish with bones, with the head.
Everything.
We eat everything, the eyes, everything. And I don't remember where, I asked for fish and they gave me,
Normal fish. Right. And you're like, that's not fish.
I'm like, what is this? They don't have the fish. And that's one of the things that really I encounter. Even the burgers. Like in Puerto Rico, you have to say what you're going to take out of the burger, not what you're going to put on the burger.
Right.
So those sort of things. And culturally, the last thing that a culture has, and then that basically nobody can take away from them, is their food.
You're absolutely right. It's a good point. And there's some cultures that really don't. I mean, I'm Irish, and I don't. We're not food people like the Italians, like Latino.
Yes.
It's just, but you'd be nothing without food. But food does identify who you are.
Yes.
And there is a difference between Puerto Rican food and Mexican food.
Yes, it is.
There's a big distinction. And by the way, you said that in your commercials. Puerto Rican food is different.
Yes.
Just like Korean food is different than Chinese food.
Exactly.
So you brought that taste, if you will, to the North Country right
Yes.
there at the. And again, it's funny. I remember your commercial. It's like near the train tracks.
Yeah.
Right near,
the
near
train
Amco
tracks.
Transmission on Coffees. You can't miss
Yes.
it. And that's good because I always tell people if there's something nearby, I don't care if it's a McDonald's. Even if you're a
Yes.
restaurant, people know where the McDonald's. Don't give us an address on some
Yes.
state highway. No one's going to remember that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And then at one point you had 2 restaurants up here.
Yes, we opened one in another version in Coffin Street.
Right. But right now you have the restaurant that your kids are literally operating right now in Evans Mills in the Village, and that's Panda Vida.
Panda Vida.
That's the name of the restaurant. So that's good because you're at a point in your life where your children have taken over the business.
Yes.
You're doing your own thing.
A lot of my own things.
Yeah, right. Well, the church
things, yes.
Now, did you buy the church, Regina? Did you literally buy that church too?
We bought the building by the grace of God and nothing else.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Right.
We've been having the building to be ours, like the church, about 5 going into 6 years. Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. Okay, so having a church and having a group of people, a congregation that come, I'm assuming every Sunday. How many sermons do you have at the church?
Before COVID, we will meet Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, plus singular meetings. And then now we meet Friday nights and Sunday nights, and we do Mondays over Zoom.
Wow. So it's very active. I mean, I just thought church was Saturday night and Sunday, and you went to confession some other time if you wanted to.
No.
That's me.
We are a little different.
And by the way, it's a Nueva Vida Christian Church. Am I saying that correctly?
You did fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know a little bit. Now, just bear in mind that we were talking earlier about learning Spanish. I took 1 year of Spanish at Christ the King High School in freshman year. I was the worst. My name is Glenn. Apparently, there's no name for Glenn in Spanish.
No.
In Latin. So that's exactly what the teacher.
Glenn.
No, so I said, well, what's your middle name? It says Thomas. You're Tomas.
Tomas.
So it's Tomas from that point going on. Tomas, and then it wasn't very good, to be quite honest, Regina. But nonetheless, I'm fascinated with people that learn or multiple languages. Do you know other languages? Do you know French?
No, I don't. I know that to say cuatro. I think that's
more than me.
German. Cuatro. I like that.
But it's interesting because you said while growing up in Puerto Rico, they did because it's part of the United States. It's part of our territory. That it was part of the curriculum to learn Spanish and English growing up. I think that's so powerful.
We learn English beginning kindergarten. We have a song and everything. That's how it starts all the way to high school and in college. We practice English.
So when you go back and you just this past August you went back to Puerto Rico, I believe you said, Regina, you go once a year?
No. And last time I was there before August, it was in 2018 to bring some funds that were collected during the relief for Hurricane Maria.
Yeah, Maria was bad.
And by the way, this town is amazing.
Is it really?
I had amazing experiences with the people of the North Country because even people that are far away, I'm like, how did you hear about this? And they just came to the restaurant. They brought coloring books, crayons, money, all sorts of things, but they brought their heart. I love this country. North Country is the bomb.
Isn't it? It's the bomb.
Boy,
now listen to that. That's fantastic.
I love it.
Now, it's not uncommon because, in radio over the years, I've been here for 33 years, so a little bit longer than you, Regina. Coming from another area, I totally recognize the fact that if someone's got an issue, their house burned down, or if they have cancer in the family, pizza, whatever it is, they come together.
Yes.
Now, again, for the most part, all human beings are very kind. They're not going to, a lot of people are not going to let someone lie in the side of the street and not do anything. But we're very proactive up here, and you learn that.
Yes.
What do you think it is in the hearts of people that live in the North Country, in your opinion?
I think it's just because we have such harsh winters, according to people. I don't think they're that harsh.
Wow.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
They enjoy every single season, every single stage. I think the love for the older community, the elderly here, is something so prevalent, and the respect, more than say just the love, the respect, the care. I love everything around here. I really have an encounter. I cannot tell you. If I have had an encounter of all those words that people say happen, I see it as an opportunity to educate somebody.
Right.
I can share with you, I work at, can I say?
Yeah, by all means. This is remember, Regina, this is your show. This is Regina Says right here. You say whatever you want.
So I work at the CAPC, and Community Action Planning Council. That was I call it my first real job. And I remember my first meeting. It's a whole bunch of women there, most women. And I was literally we meet in the gym at that time. And I look around to the side and to the other one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the only brown person here. Right. it was like, oh,
a revelation.
Wow. And that was it. Because after that, it was just like people helping the community and doing our job. I learned so much about this culture. I learned so much about the people around here and the fascinating thing that we have Fort Drum. Like that is like, I don't think people recognize what Fort Drum is to this area. And it brings seasoning to this area. It does. Because it brings different people and there's so many of them that stay here.
Right. That's true.
In fact, at some point, I was in a meeting in the town of Philadelphia, and I heard the statistics. Don't quote me, I'm horrible with numbers. They say that if Fort Drum wasn't the number one, it was one of the first 5 military bases that the soldiers stay living in the community.
Yeah, right.
Because it's so refreshing.
Right.
I love it.
Well, from what I have learned, it's the officers who are a little older. And again, you have kids, I should say kids. They are kids. They're between the ages of 18 through 30. It perhaps not the greatest place for that age group because, there's not enough to do. The nightlife isn't what it used to be. It's different in every place. It is. But that said, as you get older and then you start realizing you're retiring, you're in your 40s, whichever, and they retire early, I get it. But the quality of life is just huge up here. It really is, especially if you're a hunter or an outdoorsman. Yeah. And just look at the weather. I mean, they talk about global warming, Regina. If there is global warming, it's to our advantage because it never really gets that hot here.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's true.
Yes.
And I for one, I'm thinking that the Earth changes and we'll go back to where it was and so forth. But right now, I mean, we're looking outside. Let's take a look. I mean, look at it. Today is what is today? The 27th of October. 27th. And there's leaves still on the trees. Yes. This was not the case. Now, bear in mind, in recent years, we have had green Christmases, which is not good. Yeah. And you said that the winters aren't as harsh. I agree with you because we always think about the most recent winters. We don't think about the real harsh ones because we haven't had one in a long time.
The ice storm.
Yeah, the ice storm was 90. You were here in 98, and the worst 2 weeks I've ever seen. Yes. At any time, we look like the moon. Yeah. It was that bad. Okay, so it's so invigorating, I should say, Regina, when you're talking about someone who's a transplant. You're from somewhere else. You're from another country. And so often you hear people that have been raised here in Watertown, New York, and especially kids, where I guess it's kind of like hip to say, oh, I can't wait to leave Watertown.
Yeah,
and quite frankly,
they all come back.
Do you think they're coming back, Regina?
They do.
Okay.
They do. And I think the reason that happens is because as humans, that's how we feel like, oh my gosh, the same. Well, make it different.
Right.
Make a difference. I remember the first time I was able to buy a car. I took my kids that same weekend. At that time, I printed Yahoo directions because I was awful. And I went to the Niagara Falls.
Did you really?
By myself with my 3 children and my niece. I put them in the van and said, let's go. This is the beauty of where we live.
Right.
Like I can leave for a week. I can go to Florida, come back and say like, ooh, I want my bed, know, because that's how really it is.
It's true.
It's the way
home is a place where you can scratch where it itches.
Yeah,
that's what my mom would always say.
It's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So it's getting back to the spiritual end of things because you were troubled. I hate to use that word, but you didn't see the Lord like you do today. Did you ever see yourself as someone that would be into religion and actually be a or an ordained minister? Did you ever see yourself doing that?
No, because I'm very shy. I'd rather be in the back of things. But the Lord had it. At that time, there was a need, and a calling happened, and we just started. We just started meeting, and what you need is to want to read the Bible. So the Bible is the guide, is the way to go, and is what fills my life, and Any kindness that I have, believe me, I tell my kids all the time, you better be happy that I found the Lord, because if not, I would not be a nice person.
Really? So you're in essence, you're saying, and again, you might be a little bit harsh on yourself. You weren't a nice person, Regina. Explain that.
No, I was a nice person, but the genuine, like loving people.
Right.
When you learn what love is,
Right.
then being kind or nice to people is not necessary what meaning you love people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I absolutely love humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to speak about myself.
Yeah.
I see myself as truly a very selfish person. I even with my kids, because when you're hurt, when you're wounded,
Right.
that's what you give. You could say, "Hi, how are you?"
Right.
But what you're giving, the inside, is what you really give of people.
Mm-hmm.
So to discover that, it was like, oh, that's true. There's a difference.
Right.
When you can see that difference, that's what really make me think. I'm a thinker. I started reading the Bible, and as example, the Gospels. I read Mark, Luke, and John, and I'm like, you're telling the same story, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with you?
Right.
So an example, I'm like, this is contradicting. And then it's like, read again.
Mm-hmm.
Does it contradict? Open your mind. This is one person giving you the account according to his experience of the same account. And they're not contradicting themselves. They're just telling it to the audience they're writing.
Right.
So you start seeing yourself more. I remember having a women's meeting in my house, and I wasn't, we call it save at that time. And I told the pastor, hey, I found this information in the Bible. And she's like, how? I'm like, you read the book?
Yeah. You actually read it?
I do.
It's like a senator reading the bill.
Yes,
You actually read that?
Yes. And I think that's the space.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot say anybody convinced me. I
Right.
cannot say I used to drink.
Mm-hmm.
I was a heavy drinker. I like to drink. When I say heavy, means I didn't get drunk until I had a lot of liquor in me. I was a smoker, and nobody told me stop drinking or smoking. It just happened, and
You did that, and you took it upon yourself to.
yes, it just came to the point.
Thank
that
God you did, because that's bad. I mean, again, I'm a drinker, but I remember smoking.
Yeah.
And I still have ill effects from it. 2.5 packs a day. So, but you did it all yourself. So no one came up to you and said, "Stop this, Regina."
No.
You did it yourself.
I had people around me that practiced our faith in
Right.
that way. So I saw it to other
Right.
people, but I always say God guarded my heart, because people love me, and they were not offended. Oh, I mean, they kept it to themselves. Maybe because I'm so real, I would
Right.
tell you, like.
Right.
God is telling you that, but not telling me, so I'm not
Right.
gonna do it.
So
yeah.
Does that mean you were born again? I mean, is that
I am a
okay? You're born
born-again
again.
Christian.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And you were baptized when you were a baby. Is that correct?
Yes.
No. Okay.
My-
But you were born again
I was baptized in the waters
in the water. Yeah. As an adult.
as an adult.
And if you could, I hear nothing. I see it. Sometimes it's in a river. Sometimes inside a church.
Yes.
Now it's a lot easier to put a baby and in the baby's head in the basin and so forth. Explain what that feeling when that happened. Where were you and what was it like?
Well, I'm so grateful it wasn't in a river, because the rivers here are cold. And I would probably say no, but
They do them in the river then.
they do.
Wow,
Yes,
okay.
I'm envious of that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm like, thank you, Jesus.
Right,
He knows me.
yeah.
I don't like cold water. I like cold weather, not cold water.
Right. No, I agree.
So it is born again Christian, meaning like as a human, as a person, you're a new person. You don't think the same. You don't feel the same. So that's what is born again Christian, my experience. So I was baptized about 2 years after I was saved, because of distance and other things in the church. So I was instantly in love with Jesus. That's all it happened. And then after that, everything was coming into place, and everything was just flowing. So
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. Still flowing.
Yeah, it's still flowing.
Oh, yes.
And again, that's why Regina says, and that's why we're talking about this. So, again, working on your own podcast, you have your own website. Check that Facebook page. I don't know if you do you have your own website? I'm assuming you do. Or just it's good that you do. And again, social media is so important today, but you'll want to drive people to a website because as far as Google and analytics, it's very important. But I'll get into that later. But the Facebook page. Explain the name of the Facebook page. I don't have my notes in front of me, but you're very active on that,
yes,
Regina.
I do. I don't know what to call it, but it's the
open book. Sorry,
open book. Yes, open book.
Yeah, right.
Every Wednesday at 7:30, I sit down with one of my ladies from church, another sister in Christ, and we just talk about what is called what God says, and we just talk about the reality of the word and how to apply it to your everyday life. Like how to look at the word and don't go like lacerating yourself with it, like feeling hurt, just
beating yourself up.
Exactly. No, God, that's not the intention of if you believe that the Lord died for you, you need to know what he died for.
Right.
And if he died, you don't have to die.
Right.
You don't have to do that. So it's all about how to apply the word to your daily life. This is not about, we can do morals. I had morals before I became a Christian. But then I find out, my morals are very, very on my own way. So you have yours, I have mine, the other have the others. And at the end of the matter, I will care more for my things than for yours because it's about survival. We are created to react and to survive. Right. So when you step into my moral, you're done. Because so overstepping. Now I'm able, and I think every Christian that really value themselves as a Christian will be able to give from them for your space. If you come into my space and step into my morals, let me try to understand you. Let me try to see where you are, because at the end of the matter, we all bleed red.
We all do.
We all do.
And like they say, Regina, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, including Mark Zuckerberg and all billionaires and all that stuff. You know what I read recently? And again, as a Catholic student for 12 years, I'm not the most studious, but I learned something very fascinating, and I want to get your ideas on this. The disciples, those of which obviously wrote the New Testament and others that were sitting around the Last Supper, they lived horrible deaths too. I didn't know that, Regina. I don't really think that's taught enough, in my opinion.
It's not
horrible deaths.
I was in a conference this past week because you need to find like-minded people, and like-minded people that are. The news that we receive are so. I don't know what the word is. It's like so much about what people say they want to hear. So you don't hear, as a Christian, you don't hear as much good news of what's happening. So I was in a conference. There's this woman named Heidi Baker, and I wish people will just research Heidi Baker and see. She's in Mozambique, and she's been there for I don't know how many years. And she was just sharing horrible things that are happening. And if we move out of the fact of religion or politics and all that, horrible things that are happening to humans, and people come and talk about, Christians did this in the first century. First of all, study. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
The other day I was talking to somebody. He was talking about the Bible, but you don't read the Bible. I've been reading the Bible for 20 years. So what gives you the right to talk about my book?
Exactly.
When I don't talk about your book.
Right, exactly.
But I will read your book and then we talk.
Right.
So that overstepping of like having opinions without really getting information.
Do you think it's part of the whole new mob mentality going on right now, where people won't read anything, but they'll hear from someone that says the Bible and religion is bad, and people jump on that bandwagon?
Well, I was in Instagram last night and coming from this place, and I'm like, I had some, they send you like things for you to like and follow the pages.
Sure, notifications.
So, yes, eso me. So I got this news and I was reading them and I'm like, let me follow them. It's good news. It's called Good News, something like that. And then it was how a server was helping a mom that had a child with cerebral palsy, and her food was going to get cold. So he asked his other servers to please take out the other tables that he had so he could feed the child so she can eat her food warm. That's a human helping a human.
It is big time.
The guy was black or African American.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the lady wasn't. But the news didn't say a black man did this. It
Right.
says his name, he was very shy. He was just doing what he saw humanly as an opportunity to bless
Right.
another person.
Right.
That's all you need to know.
Right.
You don't need to know how many colors, because when we start into that thing, we forget that we all bleed red.
Exactly.
It's crazy. I'm Puerto Rican, a minority.
Yeah, right.
I'm a woman.
Right.
I'm a divorced
Right,
woman.
right. Yeah.
So, open. And I forgot.
No, that's fine, because it's interesting because everything in your life is an open book, and that's what you're expressing.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, like I said from the outset, like so many people, you don't know what you're going to do in life. You didn't think you'd be,
No.
preaching. Not so much. I don't want to use the word preaching, but speaking the word of the Lord.
Yeah.
Because you weren't in that type. You were drinking, blah blah blah, going clubbing. You probably got married too soon, Regina. Was that it, or what?
No. I knew honestly that I should not got married. We were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
It just,
Right.
it wasn't, but I did it anyways. Thank God, because I had three
Right.
amazing human beings in my life, and I'm good. It's
awesome.
far away. Thank you, Jesus.
That's right. And here's the thing. It's a tough time, Regina, and so people need God more than ever. And again, there's an old movie called War of the Worlds, and a lot of people are running to here it is, the cities are falling apart, these aliens are taking apart. This is the early 50s, by the way, but people are still going to church, even though they're crashing in on top of them. And they say there's no atheist inside a foxhole, because at the end of the day, we might say we're not really religious, we don't believe in God, but it seems like because of the events that are going on in the world today, and without getting into it, there's a lot of them. Are a lot more people looking for faith these days, in your opinion?
I think they're looking for something. I think we as the church, and I speak for my congregation and what we are praying for and what we are doing. We have had meetings for years on Fridays of prayer at the square.
Yeah.
We will come and have our time of worship. I think it's more about what the human heart needs. I think the labels, either way, have become too important. I'm not saying they're not.
Right.
They have their place, but when I look at your face, I'm looking at a human. When you look at me, you're looking at a human. And to come back to that humanity and also understand that we can, like, if you are in there's a brick road, and I have some bricks that I need because my feet are
right. I need to get from
10.
one point to the other. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
and maybe your feet are size 8, so you have a brick and a half. I
Right.
have 2, and you have a brick and a half. It's
Right.
okay.
Right.
We still can walk together, and we can be respectful, but not in a way of dismissing.
Sure.
And that's, I think, is part of what we need to practice, or we practice. I speak with all kinds of people at the restaurant. I have met fascinating people. I have met people that are like angry. A man just almost jumped from his truck to my car the other night when I was coming up in Philadelphia, and I was like, "What's wrong with you?"
Right.
Apparently I did something that got him mad. And
Little road rage, you're saying?
Yeah, road
Okay,
rage,
I
big
understand.
time.
Yeah, sure.
And the funny thing about it, it was that I had no clue what I did. And he's just like, I think
right.
he's going to have a heart attack.
Exactly.
My friend started
Exactly.
praying for him.
Isn't that something?
Because I'm like, and then he, like, it was very frightened, but
Sure.
in my heart, it was like, what did I do?
Right.
Like, whatever I did, you don't know me. I don't know you. Why are you going to be yelling at me? The way I look at it this way,
right.
spending your energy. I wasn't thinking about me. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
If a person that you don't know can get you so enraged,
Right.
something is wrong.
Something is definitely wrong. Here's my insight on that. That's unfortunate that happened.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are carrying a lot of baggage, And that when there is an opportunity to vent that,
Yes.
that's when they say they're driving along, and then for whichever reason, we all do it.
Yes.
I did it on the Bell Parkway one time. I thought I was going to get killed. This was years ago.
Yeah.
I cut in front of someone in a piece of shit car that I wasn't paying attention. I cut him off, and boy, was he pissed off. But at that point, I don't know what, he had every right to. But in this case, especially today, a lot of people are just looking for reasons to get angry, Regina.
I don't know if they're looking for. I think they don't know how much anger they have accumulated
Big
inside.
time. Yeah, good point.
So when we started talking about this, one big thing that I have in my heart is mental health. It's not like, oh, everybody's talking about mental health. Everybody wants to sell you something for you to deal with mental health.
Right.
Everybody, there's a penny around. I don't have anything in my hand. I have a sound mind. I have peace in my heart. Anyone that knows me knows if you start yelling at me like here, I just walk away.
Yeah.
I will not entertain that.
But let me ask you this real quick. As far as, would you have been a different person before your days with Christ?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Right.
Because I am an educated woman, and I think.
Yeah, right.
And I will
Right.
fight for my point. My mom used to call me a lawyer because since I was a little girl, but I will stand my ground in what I think without backing down.
Right.
I got slapped many times because of that. But at this time of my life, if I can speak and you can receive, amen. If I can speak and you don't want it, okay.
Right,
It's up to you. But I see my way. I see my journey in life at this point of I have something to offer.
Right.
And you may not agree with everything, but receive what you can receive. Eat the meat and throw away the bones.
Now, you practice what you preach, because you had an example the other day where you could have gotten really angry at this guy because, he threatened you in a sense.
Yeah.
You threatened you felt
Yeah.
that this could be a dangerous moment. But you still didn't back down, and your friend actually prayed for him.
Yes.
So that's something.
I know.
And no, it really is. I don't even know how to ask that question, but a lot of people don't do that, Regina.
No.
And so how is it you and your friend are like that in this day and age?
It's because it's understanding. I can understand, like I said, to me, to see him, to see the power
Right.
that a moment had in his life,
Right.
to take him to a physical. I mean, he really looked like a movie commercial that
Right.
I seen. That his face, I thought he jumped from his driving seat to his passenger seat. He was almost in my car.
Right.
It was. I'm like, how can a person that you don't know has that power over
Right.
you?
Right.
And I think we need to take back our power to think. Thinking is a powerful thing. Our power to control. The Bible speaks about the fruit of the Spirit, and the first part of that fruit, because it's one fruit, it's not 7 or 8 people, it's not fruits, it's one fruit. The fruit of the Spirit starts with love. In the end of that verse is self-control.
Right.
It's a sound mind. Different translations are mean the same. And I believe in power. And I think you being able to control yourself and to soothe yourself is power. I believe in the power of love, and not love that is spoken, but love that is truly soothing, because it comes from yourself,
Right.
who you are.
Right.
Who you are, what have you received is what you're gonna give. You can speak. I can hear anybody saying whatever words they're saying. I am looking for what is behind. Where is that coming from? And in mental health, there's been a shifting little by little. It's been happening for years, but people didn't consider they're diagnosing people and giving pills to people and doing all this.
Right.
When if you go to the childhood, speak to anybody, and you can trace the way they were raised, what they went through when they were children, because that's when we are formed. And I could talk about this for hours and hours on end.
Right.
If you look at the back, you see a tree,
Right.
and you see the leaves, you see the fruit, and you see the branches. You don't see the roots.
Right. No, you don't.
But without those roots, that was first.
Right. True.
Put a bean in a bag and put some water,
Right.
And the
Right.
first thing is roots. Because roots, the beginning, where we come from is what gives us what sustain us. So you could have things inside of you that your mind has suppressed. You could have experiences that have hurt you deeply because you have not handled yourself.
Right.
The world is handling you. You're making decisions out of that. So
no, I mean, again, getting back to the gym. First of all, I think because you were a woman, he had a little more of a. If you were a man, he might not have reacted that way. So I think sometimes that's
well,
the
he's
case.
a man.
And he's a man, and he saw you as a woman.
The guy next to me was a man.
Oh, real? Okay.
Yeah,
He's okay. All right. Well, whatever. But still, people just have a tendency to take advantage of women in situations like that. But let me ask you something else. Again, sometimes cultures don't get along with each other. That's been going on for centuries, not just now, but for centuries. Just people. But sometimes I watch Facebook and other videos, and sometimes there's an issue where there's a group of people perhaps Latino, playing loud music. Okay? And someone else doesn't like that.
Yeah.
And again, it's typically, and again, Facebook always likes to divide.
Yes,
It always says, oh, look, a white person yelling at it. They love that. And they're being accused of that on Capitol Hill more and more these days, but they're still getting away with it. That's what social media has turned into, unfortunately.
Yes.
Well, let me just ask you. Sometimes cultures do clash
We do.
for very simple reasons because you're very, music is a part of a lot of people's culture.
Yeah.
But coming from Queens, I just remembered music came out of people from the Latino communities a lot louder than others.
We are loud.
Same with the Italian community where they were playing disco back in the 70s and 80s.
We are loud.
So sometimes or other, that gets in the way. What are your thoughts about that and how we can communicate better in those areas?
I think it goes back to the same thing, like individuals allowing things around you to control. There's people that are mean. There's mean people in the world. You don't have to be mean back. And people say, oh, but you're not going to back up.
Right.
I know, but if one at a time we can make a change and we can deal with this, like that's so true about the music. I have an experience of a coworker many years ago. She went to Puerto Rico and she was like, when she came back, I'm like, oh, so how did it go? She said, Jeannie, I cannot believe this. What could you not believe? There was a man with a radio in front of a store and the music was banging, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And the police was parked next to him and didn't say anything. I said, yeah, that's the way we are.
That's part of the
that's part of the culture.
Right.
But I never heard of noise control or noise contamination.
Right.
And I heard that about New York City, and I was like, oh my goodness, I never thought about that because to
that
me,
wasn't part of
I don't like loud music.
I don't either. Any music doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Any music, right?
Your music just drives me nuts.
So it's if we become aware of each other a little bit more,
right.
then we don't get surprised.
Right.
We don't get surprised when somebody comes and yells or have loud music.
Right.
That's their culture.
Right.
What can I do? Buy things and put them in your ears.
Right.
So, try to
Right.
empower yourself. I think we need to be empowered more with our minds.
No doubt. And by the way, technology has gotten better. We've gone from boom boxes with 12D batteries to power and putting them on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Those days are over. But vehicles, on the other hand, have gotten to the point where you can hear a car blasting subwoofers 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
So that sometimes culture, like we talked about, it was something identified down in other areas, but once it came up to New York City, that was culture shock to you. But it's also been a hindrance between, it's a clash of cultures. But it contributes to the differences. Now, obviously, there's differences between how we look, how we act, how we dress, the food that we eat. And a lot of people just like to, just like we go back to the days when we were, in groups of our, like back in the caveman days, where we fought because that's just the way it was. And then once we became more worldly, that's when we clash even more. So, and that stuff still continues.
And it's going to continue until the end of times, I believe, whatever that means.
It's true. But I think that there's a lot of people that are instigating it, particularly white liberals, that are actually, that want this to continue, Regina.
Let me
divide.
Let me just say that there's so much ignorance.
Yes.
Even though the information is out there, we just watch a documentary in Netflix that I don't have Netflix, but my friend does, about how social media works. Like they're telling you that we are here looking to what you want in order to manipulate
Right.
anything. I would not say one side or the other. Anything. It's just social media. They did a documentary that won awards and all that. That people that work in Instagram, Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, it's in Netflix. It's a wonderful documentary. It's full of information that I've been preaching to my church for years.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because I read.
Right. Yeah, you do.
And then you see,
Right,
you don't have to be like a scholar to do that. And then to see it that they are explaining these things to you, they are telling you what they're doing, and yet you still being controlled and manipulated by that.
Right.
One of the things that I say, I'm so glad God saved me, because it's a power tripping. Like without Jesus, I'm very power tripping. I want to have what I want to have and I want to do. And one thing I don't like is people controlling me. I don't want anybody controlling me. It's something that as a human, we don't want to.
No.
But we're being controlled.
We are.
And we are following.
Right.
Like every time they send me, for my iPhone, they send me that I don't have enough storage.
Right.
I go like, I'm not going to pay for a cloud.
Right, exactly.
And
if I can't put it in my purse, I'm not paying for it.
Yeah. So those kind of mentality, and it's not common or it's not good for everybody, but that's how I live my life.
Right.
If I know that you are trying to get out of me, something out of me that I should not be giving to you, I will not. I will definitely not give it to you. So that kind of stand.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are taking that same stand against mandates. I'm vaccinated.
I am too.
You are too. But I feel for those who aren't. I just got vaccinated, by the way, not too long ago, and there were reasons for it. And I knew ultimately I was going to do it. And I didn't want to be too selfish because at the end of the day, I felt like I was. But there's a lot of people that are literally walking away from their jobs right now and are going to be losing their jobs. Very good paying jobs. We see it in the news and whatnot. What do you say to people like that who have that much conviction, like you do, Regina? And going forward, I mean, there's a lot of people in the color communities. We saw it the other day in Brooklyn. Tyree Irving in Brooklyn. There was scores of people charged at the Barclays Center, demanding answers about these mandates and so forth. So people are very upset about this. What are your thoughts about what's going on with the mandates these days, Regina?
Well, I am not aware of everything and anything. I do think that everything should be applied in the same way, and we live in a democracy. Like there's so many people that don't know what it is to live in Venezuela.
It's a good point.
And before Venezuela was where it is, Venezuela was the country has resources to give to the whole world.
You could,
and they educated people. I had Venezuelans in my job, doctors, surgeons. I had a surgeon. I had another lady that was a doctor. I had a lady that had high-paying jobs in Venezuela, looking to wash the dishes in the restaurant
because of the current situation that's going right now in Venezuela.
So we need to have, I believe we need to have an open vision of the world.
Right.
So many people protesting, and they have never been outside of the United States of America.
Right.
So many people giving opinions either way without never experiencing the consequences of those opinions.
Right, exactly.
In a vision kind of mentality. When you're thinking only about this way and you're looking to the past, but not seeing the future when we have so many examples.
Exactly. Literally going on right now.
We have so many life examples of it is. In Puerto Rico, we are a territory of the United States. I'm going to give you a story. When I came here, and I was pregnant as a low-income human that needs help, in Puerto Rico, we have WIC.
Okay. Just like we have here.
Yeah. We have it because you guys have it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We're part of the same group.
So, exactly. So when I came here, in 2 weeks, let me tell you, in 2 weeks when I came here, I needed a place to live, I needed food for my child, and I needed medical attention. In 2 weeks, I got everything I needed to have the opportunity to become whatever I wanted.
Right.
In 2 weeks, in Puerto Rico, at the time, for me to get food stamps, at the time, in the situation I was, I needed to lie.
You needed to lie to get that?
I needed to lie
Interesting.
for me to get food stamps. So I said, I'm not going to lie. I had to find a way.
That's when you came here?
That's
when you came?
After.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
When I went to get food stamps, because I needed food stamps for me and my child. I wasn't pregnant at the time. In Puerto Rico, for you, if any Puerto Ricans are listening, they're gonna laugh. Puerto Ricans that live in Puerto Rico. I needed to take a whole day to get my week checks.
Wow.
A whole day.
Wow.
I came here. The office was where the Lincoln building is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the old office.
Right.
In that office, I went in. The lady took like 10 minutes late to get me. She apologized to me.
Because of 10 minutes?
Because of 10 minutes. And I look at her and I said, ma'am, you okay? She's like, no, I'm so sorry.
Right.
I said, let me tell you a story.
Right.
And I explained to her what I needed to do to get week checks.
To get the same thing that you got
Exactly.
at that moment.
In
what
10
you
minutes.
Down there, yeah.
Right now in Puerto Rico. Very beautiful. Puerto Rico is amazing.
Oh, it's gorgeous. So is Venezuela, by the way.
Yeah. All these countries have so many resources. Right. You're going to be loved. Right now, you could be in the middle of a conference like we are, and then the power goes out.
Right.
Because the government, because the issues that they're having.
Right.
Here, when the ice storm happened.
Yeah.
By the way, I live in Watertown, New York, in East Hills for 20 years. Public housing.
Yeah.
Public housing. To me, that was a castle.
Right, it was.
I was so blessed to live in that place. I was so blessed. Oh, thank you, Jesus. You know why? Because I'm a single mommy.
Yeah.
I don't have to repair anything in my home. So I live in public housing. I pay my rent.
Right.
I work.
Right.
I did what I had to do.
Right.
And I had the opportunity to move from there, but I didn't.
Wow.
Because why would I?
It's fascinating what you're saying, Regina. By the way, the name of the show is Regina Says, and Regina Velez Carter. You lived here for 25 years, but you said something very interesting, and I got to expand upon that. You talk about how people are ignorant when it comes to professing socialism as a result. It's like, hey, we should go socialist. We should go in this direction. Capitalism's not good. Billionaires are bad. One of which is a huge advocate who happens to be Puerto Rican. I don't know if she was born there, but I got to ask you your thoughts about AOC. I mean, you don't have to elaborate too much. She's a very controversial figure, but she's a very powerful figure, Regina, and that she's convincing a lot of people of all color, particularly white women, that socialism is the way to go. And you know better than that, Regina. So what would you say to people that stand behind what AOC says these days?
I don't know her much. Don't particularly agree with what I have heard of her. But I would say to them and to anybody, just educate yourself.
Right.
Do not allow anyone, not her, do not make decisions based on one point.
Right.
She's a woman.
Right.
She's in Congress. She has power.
She's
or
smart.
Whatever. She's
beautiful.
Smart. Yes. So was Che Guevara.
Yeah.
So was Fidel Castro.
Right.
Like 100%. They are really,
Juan Perón and Evita.
You don't get to have power and influence people without being smart. But these days, you don't have to be that smart.
You know what, Regina? I mean, you've said a lot of good things, but that says it all. There's a lot of dumb, I don't want to say dumb. There's a lot of ignorant people that are in charge these days, Regina.
And ignorance is not a bad word.
No, it's not.
I teach that to my church.
And it doesn't mean stupid.
And it doesn't mean stupid. Ignorance means you don't have the knowledge.
Right.
That's all it means.
That's all it means.
And the words have loose meaning around people. So in my church, that's one thing I'm like, when we are talking about being ignorant, the Bible talks about people being ignorant. It's because you don't know the matter. I'm ignorant about how to fix a car.
Yeah, big time.
I just drive.
By the way, you sound like my teacher from Christ the King. His name was Mr. Doer.
Okay.
And he described it exactly. Did you go to Christ the King by any chance?
If you get offended by somebody calling you ignorant,
Right. Never get it.
Get offended. Say,
Because you're ignorant,
me.
you don't know the meaning of ignorant. That's why.
Exactly.
Okay, so fascinating stuff. And let me just get back to what you. First of all, technically, and again, don't take this. We talk about the word ignorant, but when you do your open book videos, you need microphones on your. But everyone does. It's amazing. I see a lot of sponsored ads on Facebook, people spending money on poor quality video and just bad audio and whatnot. But you're just getting started. So obviously, I want to help you out there. But so when you go live and so forth, do you get a decent amount of people that show up? And what do people learn from your live streams?
Well, they're in Spanish. We just speak about. We call it. God talks. I don't think.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm thinking in English and Spanish. I'm like, woohoo.
But yeah.
But anyway, we speak about the word and how to apply the word to your daily life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that translate to you in today, in the 21st century? The meaning of words is so important because so many people, we don't read like we used to.
Right, no.
Like, last night I was thinking, and I'm like, an ignorant, and I'm going to talk about how do you define a mature church versus very like baby church.
Right.
And the difference is reading. A mature church is a church, or a mature church is not the building.
Right, it's true.
Shocker
Right.
for so many people.
Right.
I'm going to church. No, the church is going to the temple. But anyways, if we are going to speak correctly, is read,
Right.
read. Don't read only what agrees with you.
Right.
I see, like in YouTube, I watch a lot of videos of people that don't agree. There's a whole bunch of people that don't agree with women being preachers. And they bring new verses. Then I have verses for you too. Because we can debate with the same words. We can, debate the words. But
Right. And again, that all started, back in the days in the second century.
Yes.
And I don't think Jesus wanted this. This is just my opinion.
He's
Regina.
He's the first defender of women.
Yes, he is.
Like, read the Bible.
Right,
that
right.
woman that everybody talked, the woman that he put the line on the ground.
Right.
What he was doing, he was saying, all of you behind me,
Right.
all of those men that were accusing her,
Right.
they were there because they have slept with her.
Right, exactly.
She's an adulterous woman.
Right.
To be an adulterous woman,
Right.
you need to have a man to be adulterous with.
Exactly. It takes two to tango.
Exactly. So that's what he brought up.
So it's like he
Oh,
is.
don't get me going.
Yeah. So he who is not sin cast the first stone. type of-
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And the law said at that time,
Right.
the law said that if two witnesses
Right.
will have to testify
Right.
against her,
Right.
those two witnesses
Right.
were there because they were with her.
Right. Exactly.
How do they know?
How do they know?
How she was adulterous with? Who she was adulterous? It's like, oh my gosh.
It's mob mentality.
It's mob mentality. It's abusive.
Yes,
and it's machismo.
Part of the matriarch society where men were in charge and manipulated things. And unfortunately, we're seeing that right now in Afghanistan because women were seeing a lot of freedoms. And if you see, for instance, video or pictures of the way things were in Afghanistan in the 70s, and for that matter, in Iraq, women look like they would look like here.
Yes.
But as soon as they, that society comes back now, it's the Taliban. It's disgraceful. We won't get into it and whatnot. But God is missing in many parts of the world, including China.
And that's what I said.
Yeah.
And I will repeat. If you can research who Heidi Baker and her job.
Heidi Baker.
Heidi Baker.
I got her name here.
She's in Mozambique. There's a whole bunch of people in the church that don't believe in ladies in ministry.
Right.
Well, go and do the job she's doing.
It's a dangerous job in Mozambique.
Oh.
I mean, that's not a picnic by any means.
She's been doing that.
So
with
she
her
might be in
husband.
danger at any given time.
Oh my gosh! You just have to.
I will look her up.
Research.
So that's what we will do.
Yes.
I will look up, and I encourage everyone right now. It's Heidi Baker, and I'm
Yes.
assuming Baker is her last name.
She's from California.
From California. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. But she's preaching, that is, in Mozambique. Is that
She's
what you're
living it.
Okay, gotcha.
She's living it.
Gotcha.
Amen.
All right, so here we have our first show. We're about around the hour. We're about literally at the 1 hour mark.
Yes.
And I think that's a good enough time because, again, people are busy and whatnot, but there's so many things that we can learn from Regina. And not to mention all these things that we will be talking about. Hopefully, Regina, we're going to do this on a weekly basis. Is that correct?
It's my hope.
No, okay. Well, no, and I get that. So, but this is where we start.
Yes.
So I wanted to get into the nuts and bolts, and I'm going to reiterate a lot of the things that you and I talked about today, where your origins and why you came here and where you were, where your mindset was before you found Christ, and how you relate that to what you're doing right now. Not to mention the church in Evans Mills, not to mention your restaurant, your family, and your future. So there's so many things to talk about.
Amen.
Remember, at any given time, Regina, there's always something to talk about.
Yes, I do. I'm a talker.
That's right. So this is Regina Says, podcast, videocast, whatever you want to say, here high above where we are right here. That's beautiful downtown Watertown on a Wednesday, the 27th of October, 2021. Regina, this was your first show in the books. What are your thoughts so far?
I am excited. This is awesome. And thank you for anybody and please learn not to be offended.
Don't be offended. And if someone's yelling at you next to you and from another
Just pray
car,
for them.
Be as cool as a cucumber as Regina was, because I tell you what, I don't know if I could be the same way. Regina, how can people find your website, your Facebook page, and your church? Real quick, how can people do that?
All right. We are Nueva Vida Iglesia Christian Church in Evans Mills, and the restaurant is there too. The church is there, 8727 Noble Street in Evans Mills, and we have a Facebook page called Nueva Vida Iglesia Cristiana or Nueva Vida Christian Church, and I have Open Book, and in Open Book I share a little bit of who I am and how I think, and you can get it in Spanish and English.
There you go. I'm Glenn Curry here at H2O Studio for Open Book. Author, and Regina Says podcast, and this is Downtown Watertown, and thank you for watching. We'll see you real soon on the internet.
Amen. Woohoo!